Hi everyone, Craig at My Mini Casa. Today we are going to install a 6 foot wide by 7 foot tall roll-up door in the end of this container. Alright, here's my grinder. So it's a DeWalt grinder, 4.5 inch. And then my cutoff disc that I'm going to use, even though I'm just going to grind with it. It's a 4.5 inch 0.045 thick with a 7/8 hole and type 27. So these work good for taking your paint off real quick. So we got our hardware kit that came with the door. Handle, bolts, nuts, the stops, the rope, and then you'll need a ratchet 7/16 socket on it. That's what fits those. Big crescent wrench to tighten the tension on the spring, and then I usually use the little one just to bend over the tabs so the door rolls in and out smoothly. So the way we set the rails is we measure the door, and the door measures 74.5, and install the rails in the container. The dimension from the inside of this rail to inside of this rail needs to be 75.5. Okay, so now I got to go inside. We'll start snapping the lines for fitting the rails. So I have marks on here, 75.5 inches. So we'll snap some lines on here to fit the rails to. Okay, we have lines snapped on here. Now I'm gonna get the grinder and grind some paint so we have some good places to tack them up to. Now I'm going to grab a rail and mark it at the top. So what happens is the rail, when we put the door up, we want to have a spot to weld up here. So I usually use this to grind. So I usually grind a spot where this mark is and then grind up here and grind that whole section out so that we have a good welding surface. Today we're going to use a Miller 210 MP, which is a multi-process machine. It'll do stick, MIG, TIG, spool gun. but we're just going to use it to run in some 030 hardwire. Alright, so the rails, when you get the rails up on your lines, if you got some kind of clamps, these work pretty good. You can use vice grips, you can use regular clamps, but these work really good. Get it on your line and make sure it's tight, and then start putting some tacks on here. Alright, so we got that one tacked on. A couple tacks in each spot so it'll hold up just good enough before we can put the door up. Now we'll do the other side. Okay, so now we got tacks on it, and we'll go ahead and bring the door in and get it hung up there and bolt it in. So when you're putting a door in, our doors have stamps on the feet. So this door has an L on it on this side, which is left, and that one has a right on it on that side. So when you're standing inside the container, this side would be your left side for hanging the door, and this side over here would be your right for hanging the door. It's going to take two of us. We're just getting ready to put the door in and hang it up. Alright, so we got it 4 bolts in it, 2 on each side. They're still loose, but now we're going to get them tightened. We're going to kind of move out of the way, give you a shot of this, and then we're going to tighten them up. So you want to make sure that you push the door up tight against the container before you tighten the bolts up. Okay, we got it bolted in. Now I'm going to bend these tabs real quick. We're going to bend this tab right here over. That way it'll make the door, when we put the door in, it'll make it drop in easier. And then we'll do the same on the other side. Okay, so now I'm going to take all the plastic off of it so that we can get ready to unhook it. Okay, so now at this point we're ready to cut the banding and then drop it into the track. So it's nice to have two people, because once you cut this side it wants to unroll itself. So you cut one side, somebody will hold it, then you cut the other side, and then you'll bring it down into the track. Got it?
Yep.
So we'll twist it back, drop it into the track, and then slowly let it unwind it. Alright, so at this point, we want to check the track in these holes. These are like sights to check to see how true the track is and make sure we got the track adjusted where we need it. So in here you should see, at least in the center of this hole, you should see at least the door in the center of this hole or further this way. And if you check all the holes down the side of it, we're all good on that side. And then if you check this side, the top we're good, the middle we're good, and then you get to the bottom and you can see the door doesn't come over to half of the hole yet. So we're going to have to just kick that bottom edge in just a little bit with the tack, but we haven't tacked it on the bottom. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and adjust this bottom corner because we didn't have the right proper amount of gap on the door and the rail. So I'm going to break this tack that I have right here, because I didn't put one on the bottom because I leave the bottom loose until we're ready, just in case we have to move it. So I'm going to break this tack right here so we can scoot this edge in just a little bit. Okay, tack is broke, and now I'll get the welder set back up. Okay, so now we just need to make sure the rail is tight against to the container, and then we're going to push it in a little bit. We're going to kind of judge from the gap that we had to what we need to push it in, and then we'll move it in and go from there. So we'll put a tack on it, we'll pull the door down, make sure it's right before we start welding. So you can see the gap in there now, it's pretty much right in the center.
Oh, that's a good shot.
So now we're ready to start welding. So I'll roll the door up, kind of get it out of the way, and then we'll make our welds. So on the top, the part we bolted on the door, we're going to make a couple welds on here, even though it's got 2 bolts inside, just so in case it doesn't rattle loose. Because if your containers are traveling or whatever on a truck or whatever, across the country to you or whatever, you don't want the door to fall out. So we'll put a couple welds on there. Alright, so the door's welded in now. Okay, I'm going to tension the spring on the door first, a little bit before I put the stops in. So I got the big wrench, and then you see there's a big white nut right there. That's what we're going to turn to tension the spring. Normally on this door, it's usually about 8 clicks, but sometimes you go a few more, sometimes a few less. So that's 8 clicks now. So now the door will open and close a little bit, but it'll help me put the stop brackets on because I like to get the door in a certain place in the dip that gets your fingers in there. So these are the stop brackets. They just go on and hold in. Tighten it up.
7 wrench.
Still 7/16. Everything on these doors are 7/16. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Strips are to protect the door as it rolls up on the wheels, so that it doesn't scratch the inside of the door, and then you have padding here over the bolt connection for the lock. So normally you want to be about halfway up where it's about where these holes are, and then after you go up from there, you want the door to kind of roll up by itself. So as we go, it's still not rolling up until we get really close. And then as you're coming down, once you get kind of past that hole, it should start to go down. You should be able to feel pressure on it coming down. So at this point, we're still not tight enough. So there's 2 more clicks. We're gone to 10 now. And we'll see how it feels. So halfway, it's starting to pull itself up. And then coming down, you should start to feel the pressure on it. So I like it right there when you unlatch it. You can see it wants to pop open a little bit. You can see the thing, kind of tell the pressure, and it just kind of slowly wants to take itself up by itself. So handles on. Let's see, we got our rope put on. Tie a couple knots in the end. Tie it on the handle. And it's on. So let me just close the door so you can see it. So closing the door, because there's tension on it, usually the door doesn't want to push down. So you step on the handle, push it down, come over, and slide the latch in the door, and it's closed. So the one other thing we need to do is put the lock on the tensioner. So I'll open the door and then we'll go inside and do that. Okay, so we got our thing, and so that the spring won't come undone, there's a little kind of wing nut that goes in it to hold it from spinning the thing. So right in here there's one hole or two holes, and you put this in. So there's a hole right here. This goes in. Just tighten it up, finger tight, and you're good.
That's how you install a roll-up door.
That's how you install a roll-up door, and we're done now.